Are we good? I'm going to assume we are good. Let's get
Yes,
started.
I can see it. It
Okay,
looks
super.
good.
Excellent, excellent. So technology gods are with us. Yay. Thank you everybody, and thank you to Steve and the hosts of Library 2.0 for inviting me to speak today about the many flavors of AI. This whole thing is going to be one big food reference, so I hope you're okay with that. And apologies in advance to those who are lactose intolerant in the audience. This is going to be an ice cream related talk. So terms, jargons, and definitions you need to know. I don't know about you, but AI, and especially the concept of ethical AI, changes week to week. I'm afraid if I go on vacation and I come back, everything is going to be different. So I've been tracking how people characterize uh particularly large language models, but artificial intelligence in general and ethical AI, which is one of my specialties. And there's a lot of jargon, there's a lot of terminology out there, so hopefully this will help everybody understand and keep up with how things are characterized. This can help you understand, this can help you help your patrons, your library users, your colleagues, your stakeholders, and also can maybe help you decide what type of system to use or not. So let's go. So the almost 31 flavors of ethical AI as I see it. So here's some examples: ethical, responsible, transparent, explainable, accessible, open, trustworthy, consistent, and others. Yeah, a lot of terminology. What does all this mean? So, first of all, why is it important for librarians to even bother with any of this? This is just another technology. It's going to come and go, right? Those of you who have been around as long as I have, we've seen all the shiny bells and whistles, and it's the next wonderful thing. Well, first of all, we have a foundational and concrete responsibility to our profession, to our patrons, to the people we're helping about how to use these tools, how to use these systems, how to understand when to use them, when not to use them. So we really have to keep up, not just keep up, but really lead the charge in ethical AI. These AI systems are not only filtering information, they're creating information. So this is part and parcel of what we do every day. This kind of reminds me of the bad old days of Google back in 1999, or the inception of Wikipedia back in the mid 2000s. We all thought it was going to put us out of jobs, and it hasn't. We're still here. But we are able to learn quickly how to help people use these tools effectively. As I mentioned, yeah, Internet 1.0 and Wikipedia were kind of the bellwethers of their time. And I firmly believe Chat GPT and GPT 4.0 and other LLMs are the bellwethers of this time. So what I've added to each of my slides is sort of a referential phrase, if you will. This one is: we cannot afford to sit back and watch, nor can we dismiss with disdain. Let's get started. So on with the ice cream analogy, the vanilla, if you will, of ethical AI is ethical AI itself. Principles and values that guide the development, deployment, and use of AI systems, fairness, accountability, and transparency, which are other terms. It's kind of a circular definition. Ensures that AI aligns with societal values and are used in ways that are consistent with ethical principles, sets the standard for what's considered ethical and just. So here we have: development follows the norms and values of the organization. And you're thinking, great, end of story, we're done here, right? Not quite. There's a lot more to understand. So if that was the vanilla, responsible AI is the chocolate. Responsible AI refers to actions and practices that organizations and individuals should take to ensure that AI systems are developed, deployed, and used in a responsible way. This includes risk management, stakeholder engagement, governance, etc. Ensures that AI systems are safe, secure, beneficial to society. A slightly different focus than ethical AI. And it's the practical implementation of standards that ensure the ethical use. Again, this is a little circular, a little recursive And down at the bottom, the norms and values of the organization developing and deploying AI systems are beneficial to society. So for the first one, the emphasis is on societal norms. This one is the emphasis is on organizational norms. There is a difference. All right, we've covered vanilla, chocolate. Where's strawberry? Here's strawberry. And some people are allergic to strawberries. I didn't think this through very well. My apologies. Um, so transparent AI is bandied about. Transparent AI systems, great. That means they are good, right? That means this is the positive thing. Not necessarily. So transparent versus opaque, obviously, these are systems where you can see inside, you can see the inner workings. It's not a black box system. This system is transparent. The development process is transparent. The usage purpose is transparent. The jargon in use is black box versus glass box. Tremendous user feedback, lots of documentation, aligns with the values and culture of the organization, but it's not necessarily explainable. What does that mean? Just because you can see inside something doesn't mean you can explain it very well. And down at the bottom, it says this system is incredibly convoluted. You can tell just by looking inside. So transparency is great, but there's more to the story. So this one is my pistachio. My favorite ice cream flavor is pistachio. So we've got explainable AI as pistachio ice cream. And again, explainable to who? Is explainable to your users, to customers, internal to the organization, to external stakeholders. And it's not necessarily transparent. So one does not automatically lead to the other. We run an opaque proprietary system. It's one of our selling points. Let me walk you through. And those of you who have done vendor relations, sometimes that may remind you of some vendor talks you've been to. Sure, we'll open this up for you. You have no idea what's going on inside, but you can see it, right? The next one is peach. This is going to be peach ice cream, and this is very big down in Georgia. Peach ice cream is delicious if you've never had it. Accessible. Accessibility is a key point, especially for those of us working in the DEIA and belonging space. Accessibility is highly, highly relevant and sometimes mission critical, depending on the organization you work for. Again, accessible to whom, accessible by whom, the same list: users, customers, internal, or data providers. Is it accessible willingly or unwillingly? And you can imagine Chat GPT with spoken captions, or imagine a system like Dolly with image descriptions. So right now they are LLMs by their nature, large language models. They are very heavily text-based. I predict we're going to have more fully accessible systems as time goes on. Open. The word open, I just came off of an open science virtual conference. Last year was the year of open science within the federal government and other places. And the culture of open, the ethos of open science, open access, open tools, open code. What does that really mean? Well, it means, okay, viewable by anyone, anywhere, without boundary, without paywall, open source code, an open development environment. The documentation is open and readily available, and the development processes are open. Is the system ethical and responsible? You be the judge. Just because it's open doesn't mean it's ethical, responsible, really understandable, explainable. I think you see where I'm going with this. A lot of these terms are thrown out as net positives. And what I'd like everybody to take away is that these terms can easily be debunked or changed or misinterpreted. Here's another one: trustworthy AI. This is my blueberry ice cream. Trusted by whom? Trustworthy. Great. It does what it's supposed to do. but what is it supposed to do? It's usually paired with the term transparent and trusted AI, but not always. It also paired with explainable, ethical, and responsible. And I have a little quote at the bottom from Senator Sheev Palpatine. Most of you here know who he is. I trust the system to operate exactly the way we intended. That's not a direct quote from any of the films or any of the canon, but you can kind of hear Ian McDiarmid in his voice saying that. Consistent AI. This is lemon sherbet, by the way. I was running out of ice cream flavors, so I had to kind of pivot to sherbet. This is lemon sherbet. Consistent AI. It operates reliably and is often conflated with trustworthy. Just because something is consistent doesn't mean it's trustworthy. It's neither ethical nor responsible. It's kind of what neutral. I forget what the old Dungeons and Dragons classification would be. But there may be inherent bias in the system, consistently inherent bias. It may be consistently inaccessible. So I wrote this one several months ago after I had a horrible experience with the chat bot from my bank. And the quote is, "The bank chatbot never ever gives me a straight answer to a simple question. It's consistent, but it's terrible." And an AI system can be the same way. So this last slide, I am wrapping things up. This last slide recommend my recommendations of who to follow, who to listen to, people with very active social media presences who I regularly check in with for definitions, terminology, but also to kind of gauge where ethical AI is going in terms of policy, culture, legislation. I mentioned DEIA initiatives in AI. One of my favorites is Timnit Gebru, who used to work at Google. You can look her up and look up her story. Abhishek Gupta, Carrie Miller, Reed Blackman. Reed Blackman has a wonderful sort of video podcast series where he does interviews with other AI developers, and it's all about the ethics and responsibility of AI. Laura Miller, Ryan Carrier, Kurt Cagle, and especially Norman Muradian, who is a professor at San Jose State, who I co-presented on this topic several months ago. And he has done an extensive amount of research on ethical AI and where all of that is going. And with that, I will say thank you, and I'm happy to take questions. I'm going to stop sharing. How are we doing questions? A lot in the chat. Wow, this is great. Somebody recommended ube. Yeah, ube ice cream is delicious. Absolutely. Yeah, oh my gosh. Yes. So maybe I should change from blueberry to ube. Yeah, really good stuff. Questions, discussion, comments, your own experience with all this terminology, confusion. Let's see. Jerry says, I wonder if there are any wikis or sites in library land on AI literacy for the, yes, AI literacy is a hot and upcoming topic. I know Leo Lowe from University of New Mexico has a number of research papers and is really pushing AI literacy. I know he's one of the leaders of this conference, which is really exciting. Can you reshare the list of who to follow? Absolutely. What I will do is, first of all, I will make sure I will send the organizer of this conference my slides. Number two, please follow me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with anybody and talk with you all and keep the conversation going about ethical AI. Oh, Hannah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you dropping that list in. I guess somebody screenshotted it. Let's see, Jenny says.
We actually have a.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say we have a question on the Q&A from Jessica.
Yeah.
What is the most helpful thing you have learned about AI that you wish everyone knew?
That I've learned. It's first thing that comes to mind that it's a tool. It's a tool like any other tool. It has drawbacks, good points, frustrations. It's still in development. This has only been around a year. People often load the term AI ever since ChatGPT came out. It's kind of this catch-all term, and they infuse it with either all good or all bad. Either it's going to solve the world's problems or it's going to take down humanity. And that's just simply not true. A lot of the media is driving this, unfortunately, but it is on us as librarians, as information professionals, as people who guide the use of information tools and content. We need to lead the charge for ethical AI, so we know how these systems are being developed, so we know who's behind these systems, who's funding them, who's developing them, what's the correct usage, what's the incorrect usage. So if somebody walks in and asks for your help, you can say, yes, let me explain to you a little bit of history. Here's how to understand what's going on here. Here is the proper way to use this. And here's really not how to use this. So it's a tool. Did that answer the question?
I believe so. That was the only question listed in our Q&A. The rest are in our chat.
Okay. All right. A lot of chats flying. Let's see. I was gonna read Jenny's question. Do you keep up with specific AI companies? OpenAI was widely praised for transparency, but I hear it isn't as good now. That's absolutely true. Yeah, OpenAI, from my point of view, is a bit of a misnomer. Um, because if you ask them, okay, let's see your algorithm, they will not share it with you. Of course not. That's proprietary. Will they share their development process? That's proprietary. So a lot of these companies are popping up, and it's important to be educated about what the product is that they're offering, and also see, you can go on their website to see if they state who their development team is, what the purpose of the tool is, if it's open source. So we can really kind of educate ourselves how to use these different tools. Let's see. I see Jeanette's question. How do we explain that you aren't necessarily searching a database in the traditional way when you talk to an AI agent? I'm gonna answer that by answering the question that was in the Q&A. What is the thing that you learned? The other thing that I learned is when I heard about the training data for Chat GPT, and that it included Reddit. Reddit's been around a long time. There's a lot of good stuff on Reddit, but there's a lot of really kind of questionable and sketchy stuff on Reddit. And that really kind of educated me very quickly about, okay, the training data for ChatGPT is the entire internet, warts and all, good, bad, and ugly. So what does this thing do? It anticipates language. Let's use it to anticipate language. Don't rely on it for an accurate information source. We've all heard about hallucinations, which is kind of anthropomorphizing, however you pronounce that word, the tool. It's a computer that is trying to anticipate the next word or the next phrase. And I think once we explain that to people, they'll understand, oh, I can use this to craft a cover letter. I can use this to write an email. I can use this to maybe create a use policy, a space use policy, but don't use it for answers to questions. We still got the good old internet, and we still have librarians for that. The questions are just flying fast and furious in the chat. It's a little hard for me to keep up. Let's see. Beth, moderator, do you have any particular questions in the chat that you want me to address?
I guess the last one here is asking for more of a confirmation between the terms. Maybe that would be helpful for others as well.
Confirmation between the terms? Between
This
which
is jargon and terms about AI. I'm confused about this presentation.
Yeah, so the jargon, the terminology that I just went through carries a lot of loaded words, meaning if something is open, if something is transparent, if something is trustworthy. Again, often these are presented as net positives. And what I am trying to do, what I wanted to do in this this presentation, is to get people to think about the terminology that around particularly ethical AI, so that we can evaluate these systems on a deeper level and maybe not be fooled by things like, again, like open and ethical and transparent or responsible. Really kind of look at it with a little bit of a side eye, to help our users help themselves using these tools.
And then another question further up was, what is an algorithm? What goes into it?
So a very high level definition is it's the underlying foundational code, if you will, the directions to the system on how to operate, how to ingest the training data, how to use the training data, how to present the training data as it's flowing through the system. Each AI system does it differently, and the algorithm is quite powerful because it can affect the answers, well, the responses you get from a large language model, and it can that's where a lot of the inherent bias can reside, is in the algorithm development, because you can weigh certain words and certain phrases over others. You can have it respond to certain data sources over others. And all of this is human made. None of this is the system learning from itself yet. This is in development. When you deploy the system, that's when the system starts learning from itself. It starts training itself one direction or another, but that inherent bias can remain in the underlying directions to the system, which is the algorithm. More questions?
There was a question. What is FAIR, FAIR for AI?
So that's the next term. Oh, thank you for mentioning fair AI. That's a new one on me, and I've been researching that one. I've been looking that one up. Most of us know about fair data. So fair is an acronym for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Fair data has, that term has been around for almost 15 years. Applying that to an artificial intelligence system implies that, again, the development, the underlying algorithm, and also the training data have come from uh, data repositories or sets or training data that operate on these principles, so that they are easily findable, they are easily accessible, they are easily interoperable, and they are reusable. Now, also, people are applying the FAIR acronym to machine learning, and the same definition applies. I am still learning about fair AI, and I'm very excited to, maybe in another version of this talk, that will be the next slide, and I will have the ube flavor of ice cream be fair AI. And again, I mentioned at the front, you step away for a week and all of this changes. So this presentation is as accurate as, was it 2:24 p.m. Pacific time on the 21st. So keep up with the folks that I recommend. Find your own AI experts to follow on social media and online. Read the literature. This is an ongoing effort. You can't just sit back and think, okay, I understand it, I get it. Do your due diligence in-house, work with other people in your organization. I know a lot of you out there are from higher education. I know higher education has been all over AI systems ever since ChatGPT came out last year, with policies and practices, and you can do this and you can't do that. librarians have, again, an opportunity, and I would think an obligation, to be at that table, to have a seat at that table, talking about this from an information expert and an information science perspective. We are the experts at the table when it comes to information services and information science, and I find that very exciting. I see somebody like, Sophia mentions hallucinations. So what's a hallucination? So in an effort to answer a question or to provide a response, ChatGPT, but any large language model will take information from the training data and anticipate the next phrase or the next word based on what's called your prompt or your query, and it will give you an answer. The problem is that answer or that response can be completely wrong, not just factually incorrect, but completely fabricated. Especially if you ask it, I need 5 journal article citations on the following topic. It will present to you 5 journal article citations. It'll even give it to you in APA format, pristine APA format. None of those articles will actually have existed, have been published. That's a hallucination when an AI system responds with completely fabricated information, and then you have to go back. This is why it's so important for librarians to be all over this, because we have to remind our patrons and our users, just because ChatGPT comes back with a response, it doesn't mean it exists or doesn't mean it's true. That's a hallucination.
Okay, maybe one more question before the session ends.
One thing I can say is, at NASA as an agency, as a federal agency, and also at JPL, we started looking into these large language models as, sort of personal aids, or overlaying a small corpus of training data, but we're kind of hanging back a little bit, making sure that the systems can be locked down, can be secure, so we can share internal information through them. I know the Samsung company got in trouble early last year when some Samsung employees shared proprietary company information on ChatGPT in an effort to sort of play with the system. So we've been looking at customizable and internal versions of large language models to do exactly to sort and to search for and to replicate internal NASA information. So my prediction is that the day will come where everyone will have their sort of AI chatbot assistant based on your own information. You can have your own chat GPT searching just the information on your laptop. The costs will come down, the accuracy will increase. I think it's just a matter of time. Anybody else has any burning questions? I think we are just about at time. I would be happy to respond to everybody in the chat. Is there a way that I can get a transcript of the chat?
Yes, we are recording it, so once the recording's done, then we can send it out.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and a couple of people have DM'd me in the chat, and I don't know that I'll have time to respond to you here. Feel free to reach out to me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you there. Again, I love this stuff. I've been following it for a long time, and can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.